Bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat shalom,
Shabbat shalom,
Shabbat 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 shalom. Bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam, yai da 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 bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam.
Good Shabbos, everyone.
Shabbos, Rabbi.
Well, it's nice to see a congregation here in person. And it's a unique experience. I know it shouldn't be, but it's something special. Almost feels like a moment to say Shechianu, in a sense. You know, sometimes we say Shechianu every Shabbat, because every Shabbat should be a Shechianu moment. But it feels like it right now, just in seeing all of you in the congregation, and for those who are online with us as well. So as we begin our service together, it's nice to be a community and to find those who are sitting around. So I ask you, as I say Shechianu, to wish someone else a Shabbat Shalom. Introduce yourself. Let me say, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Shechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu la'azman hazeh.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shechianu v'kimanu v'higianu la'zman hazeh.
And it feels like a sense of joy in our opportunity to be together in this safe space, in this holy space, and what we create in these moments in our lives. And that's really a blessing that we have. And in the midst of that, I'm torn because I walk in here, and Cantor and I were talking a moment ago, and as I was getting ready for Shabbat, my thoughts are overwhelmed with what's going on in our world, of course, and what's happening in Ukraine. And for all of us, how can we not be thinking of that? I saw a recorded video in Hebrew from the rabbi in Odessa, which was the third largest Jewish community in the world prior to Stalin, prior to the Holocaust. And, in the past 3 decades, there's been a resurgence of Judaism in Odessa and Kiev. As a matter of fact, our federation has a partnership with Kiev. It's one of our partnering cities in helping bring Judaism back to life there. People my age who want to be Jewish and have no idea what it means to be Jewish. And we've sent educational materials, and colleagues have gone over and done wonderful things. And the rabbi in Odessa was evacuating himself and his community and boarding up the synagogue. And the angst in seeing that and realize what's happening and the things that we at times just don't recognize how precarious they are. So balance those two thoughts, those feelings in our lives. The reality of what we get to experience and the preciousness of life and the joy in Shabbat with the realities of the challenge in our world. And so we start our services with lighting our Shabbos candles. We call this a CAYA Shabbat, come as you are. It's casual, it's relaxed, it's just unplug for a moment and have some peacefulness, have some calm. Because the reality is that we have our TVs on all the time, our computers on all the time, and we see the news, we're bombarded with the events of our world. So let's not let go of it and putting it aside and forgetting about it, but let's let ourselves be lifted up by community and turn our thoughts to how we bring light into the world. The reality is, of course, we light the Shabbos candles, as I say every week at preschool. Every child gets their own candle because they're reminded their presence in the world brings more light into the world. So hold on to that thought for a moment as we light these Shabbos candles, as if you each have your own Shabbos candle, recognizing that you, as an individual, you as a part of a community, bring more light, not just to Temple Shir Shalom, not just to your families, but to our world as well. And I invite Melanie West to join us on the Bima to kindle the Shabbos candles as Cantor leads us in the blessing. Melanie is the chair of our Shabbats like this as we come together to enjoy moments in Oneg after our services.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen.
And so as we prepare for our Shabbos together with our prayers of calm, our prayers of peace, our prayers of hope, think about a thought of this week's Torah portion, a teaching in a sense that comes from it. Some who studied with me earlier this week heard a glimpse of that. It's a portion at the end of the book of Exodus, Vayakhel. And in the Torah portion, God commands Moses to tell the people of Israel to bring gifts that they'll use to build the tabernacle, the temporary temple, to build the ark, the holes, the Ten Commandments, to build the garments the priests will wear, fine linens and gold and silver and copper, all the different things that are needed. And one of their amazing things is, says that everyone brought gifts as their heart moved them, and there was just enough. Remarkably, they had just the right amount. But a few verses later, God points out to Moses that there's too much material. People brought too much. The gifts were too great. Imagine that, a fundraising campaign, and people brought too much. How have I? And suddenly, in the next verse, it says, but it was just okay. There was the right amount. Suddenly, there's too much, and it's the right amount. And the rabbis ask the question, how can you have both? Either there's too much or there's the right amount. It doesn't work. Rashi says, well, it was to make sure that the artist didn't have to skimp. There was extra they could set aside so that they could use that for fixing things, right? And another rabbi looks at it and says, well, maybe it was the idea that what's too much for one person is just the right amount for another person, because I need more materials because I make mistakes as well as I create things. But the Hasidic interpretation I love is the idea that what we see as too much at times is supposed to be there. Those are the extras in life that sometimes we might actually take for granted. Those are the blessings that are there all along, if we notice them, if we pause for a moment and notice the blessings that are there. That what seems like extra is supposed to be a part of our world, our life. So as we join in prayers for Shabbat, think about what's been extra this week, what's been a blessing for you, what's been something special that you can articulate, that maybe you shared in the world or maybe was shared with you. A moment interaction, something that brought you joy, something that brought you hope. The kindness of a friend, a family member, a stranger that holds our world together.
Olam chesed yibaneh, yadadai, 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 olam chesed, olam chesed yibaneh, tadadai, yadadai, olam chesed yibaneh, yadadai, 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 olam chesed yibaneh, yadadai, yadadai, I will build this world from love. Yadadai, and you will build, and you must build this world from love. And if we build, this world from love, then God will build this world from love. Olam chesed yibaneh, olam chesed, olam chesed
And so with our prayers of love and kindness, our prayers that remind us of how important it is to be a part of a community, so can we come together now with our prayers for Shabbat as we join with the call to worship our Baruch Hu, and we rise as one.
et Adonai hamevorach, Baruch Adonai hamevorach, leolam, leolam va'ed. Baruchu et Adonai hamevorach, Baruchu et Adonai hamevorach, Baruch Adonai hamevorach, leolam va'ed. Baruch Adonai hamevorach, leolam va'ed. לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Let us lie down in peace, God, and permit us to wake up in the security of knowing we're safe and loved. Be a shield around us and keep enemies, disease, violence, homelessness, hunger far away from those we love. Be a shelter over our homes. Protect us with peace. The words seem fairly simple and easy for us to say when we sit in the midst of security and comfort. Maybe the rabbis, in understanding the precariousness of our lives, of our world, the threats that surrounded them as the prayer was written during a Roman period of oppression over the Jewish people, realized what was here today might not be tomorrow. We know we can wake up tomorrow and have security like we have today. We hope for that. Maybe part of the prayer is recognition that when we have blessings, we have responsibility. We know that not everyone can say that prayer comfortably at night. Not everyone can look outside a window and feel the safety that we feel. So maybe that recognition is the awareness that we should have in our lives, the responsibility that when we see things that are difficult, when we see things that are painful, to use the good that we have, the love that we have, the strength that we have, to make sure others feel that as well. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, ha'amidenu malkeinu l'chaim, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha.
Guide my steps and help me find my way. I need your shelter now. Rock me in your arms and guide my steps, and let me make this day a world of praise to you. Rock me in your arms and guide my steps. Guide my steps. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, v'amidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, v'amidenu malkeinu השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום ועמידנו מלכנו לחיים השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום ועמידנו מלכנו לחיים ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ושלום מעתה ועד עולם מעתה ועד עולם השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום ועמידנו מלכנו לחיים השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום ועמידנו מלכנו לחיים.
The idea of consistency, of repetition in our prayers was an important concept for the ancients because by saying things, it makes us do them in a sense. It reminds us of our identity, of our values, of what we believe and hold on to. And sometimes the prayers are what we turn to when we don't know what else to say. In times of loss and times of illness, we turn to Psalms, 150 of them. A traditional Jew will carry Psalms with him and repeat them, recite them over and over as a way to, in a sense, call out to God when we're not sure what else to say. The central prayers of worship, the Amidah, are a part of that ritual too. But we all know what we do every time we gather. But I think what's important, the words before them that remind us, Yehiyu ratzon lefanecha, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, God, my rock, my redeemer. May the words of my mouth, the meditations of my heart, can I be consistent with my prayers and my thoughts? Can what I'm saying articulate the values that we hold on to as a people that work on bringing light into our world and making our world a better place? How do we help ourselves with that? The prayers, Yehiyu ratzon lefanecha imrei fi. May these words. And part of that is these words lift us up to other thoughts that we hold on to that come in and out of our mind. And the ancient says, for us in the midst of meditation, whatever enters your mind is okay. So I think the same thing is true in our prayers. They're there as a guide, but it guides us all in different directions, and that's okay. Getting us to that place to help one another and to help our world.
Imrei fi,
please rise.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Eternal God, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, ve'Elohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'Koneh HaKol, Ve'Zocher Chastei Avot ve'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei Bneihem, Lema'an Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol atah, Rav lehoshia, Mashiv haruach, U'morid hagashem, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofeh cholim, Umatir asurim, Umkayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'al gevurot, U'mido melach, Melech mimit u'mechayeh, U'matzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lahachayot ha'kol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh ha'kol, Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kdoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
In the midst of our prayers, our thoughts, of course, turn to those in need of healing and strength. And as Torah is a source of wisdom and what we learn from, so does Torah give us hope. In a moment, we'll take Torah out and walk around with it and maybe reach out and touch it as we mention names of those we're thinking of in our community, gaining strength in sharing those names and sending love to those in need, sending prayers to those in need, saying hope as well. Chavatenu Avraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov, v'imutenu Sarah Kalei Avrachel, Hu Yivarech et the Cholim, merciful God, and strength to those in need, God of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Leah, and Rachel. Send your blessings to those we think of at this time, friends and family of our congregation. Alyssa Ioto and Will Armsden, Doreen Billett, Michael Brody, Larry Burke, Karen Kasman, Patty Seresny,
Allison Davis, Judy Naines Dolson, Michael Eisen, Elisheva Batsara, Barbara Esrig, Richard Gotro, Batia Pesha Penina, Ava Haber-Kornholm, Ty Hall, Andrew Halo, Hank Heiser, Leslie Hubert, Jane Jacobs, Serafina Coffrin, Sarah Bat-Miriam, Karen Coltono, Rick Kornspan, Marta Lazar, Glenn Lee, Henry Leopold, Haley Lippman, Libby McIntyre, Zoe Marcus, Teresa Miji, Allison Mertzman, Gail Mintz, Lev Herschel, Ben Bat Ami, Perry Moss, Lori Moss, Linda Newman, Rabbi Robert Nosenchuk, Rezel Bat Leah Miriam, Leah Elisheva Bat Avram Bachana, Annette Pines, Eileen Porcelli, Melanie Pohl, James Raftery, Joanne Reed, Marcy Fisher Reiners, Lydia Raphael, the St. Amand family, Sandra Schiff, Rita Seidman, Danny Shepard, Bernard Sklar, Roberta Sanino, Jerry Steinberg, Barbara Storm, Leah Tosto, Naomi White, Connie Wahlberg, all those battling the coronavirus, the 32,455 American troops who've been injured in Iraq, surrounding areas to date, of course those in Ukraine who've been injured in the recent fast days, and all the names in our hearts. Baruch atah Adonai Raphael Cholim. Bless you, God, give strength to those in need.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש
Nothing can fill the emptiness that a death leaves behind. Those who are no longer a physical presence are still alive within our thoughts and our words. Their memories are only a part of the picture. So long as we recall their presence and their warmth, their friendship, their heart, mind, and thought are still within our soul. We honor and cherish the ones we love by living our lives to the fullest. This time in our prayers, of course, we think of those who have been taken from our midst in this past week and month, whose Shoshim we mark, friends and family of our congregation: Joel Hoffman, William Cohen, Doug Tabor, Eileen Haas, Phyllis Solomon, Anya Middle, Lawrence Jonas, Yatar Kananova, Sharon Lipton, as well as those with Shana we mark, Jan Brody. The 4,586 Americans of our armed forces who have been killed in Iraq, the surrounding areas to date, and 945,647 Americans who have lost their lives to the coronavirus. Linking their names to names of your sites we mark on the Shabbat, those anniversary of passing we lovingly commemorate: Marcia Alexander, Angel Berger, Alfred Berkowitz, Helen Beal, Anthony Castillo, Jack Chernak, Stuart Denny, Edna Doigan, Franklin Fox, Joseph Goldberg, Gertie Grossman, Lena Silk Gerwin, Anne Hershen, Chris Heiser, Louis Hirschman, Arthur Howard, Celia Hyman, Alexander Khanakov, Bertram Kornfeld, Sadie Kavitsky, Nate Light, Yetta Lopatin, Joseph Lowy, Saul Lumberg, Leo Mandel, Roland Morale, E. Ruth Newmarker, Laura Oberfeld, Herbert Peterson, Doug Pergament, Sanford Rope, Augie Rubin, Wally Sampson, Martin Schiffer, Sam Shepard, Ronald Silverman, Sophia Seroff, Rose Tarnow, Mary Tarnow, Maurice Turetsky, Esther Bershad Vogel, Arnold Wasserman, Evelyn Weil, Sherwin Zamler. And linking their names to all names that we do not recite on the Shabbat, those of every faith and family whose lives have touched ours, as well as those who have no one to stand and say Kaddish for them. So do we join together on page 96 of our prayer books in the immortal words of the mourner's Kaddish. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach chirate v'yamich malchute, b'chayach chon u'vyomech chon u'chayeh d'chol Beit Yisrael, v'agalau u'vizman kari v'imru, Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam amei amaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'nadar v'naleh v'nalal, shemei d'kudusha b'richu, le'elamin kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damaram b'yama v'imru, Amen. Yehei shlomo Rabbah min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom b'ramav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. The source of peace, and peace to those who mourn, comfort to those who are bereaved here and everywhere. And let us say, Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, amen. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ya'aseh shalom,
Shabbos, everyone.
Good Shabbos.
So a thank you to Melanie West for helping coordinate our burgers, beer, and babka Shabbat tonight, which I know is, well, just one of the many reasons why you're here this evening. So Melanie is part of our board, and we always appreciate when our board helps out in leading different programs that we're doing at Temple. And so in a moment after Tish, we'll go together into the social hall for those who registered, who are planning on staying for the Oneg and signed up for that. And if you'll walk out that door and in that side of the social hall, that's where we're checking for your Vax cards or your PCR negative tests. Then Brian, thank you, Brian Fishman, and Michael Pearl are going to be helping that if you haven't sent in the copy of that as of yet. So, and we appreciate for those who've RSVP'd for that so that our caterer has the right numbers and helps us with those things as we're becoming more efficient at Temple Shir Shalom and doing these things, right? So good. Other things on the horizon in just, I think, a week and a half, we have another trivia night, right, Gary Schumann? March 9th. Gary Schumann is making programming so vibrant at Temple Shir Shalom, so he loves trivia, and so trivia once a month, March 9th, Wednesday night, be a fun time. Rabbi Daniel loves leading trivia, so that's going to be going on, so that's one of our next programs. Of course, our golf night is later that week on March 12th on Saturday night, Top Golf Night, and there's still some of the bays are available to join the Shir Shalom crew. Whether you golf or not, you can just sign up and just do the food part. Some people just like food, some people don't like golf, so it's just social. Some people like golf and don't like food. That's not an option, but you can still come and have fun with us. So that's a cool thing too. Purim Carnival is around the corner on March 13th. And so help support our youth group, our SISTI. You've gotten the tickets in the mail, the raffle tickets. There's going to be raffled off this year. First time ever, oxalotls will be available for the raffle. Oxalotl. You don't know what an oxalotl is? Nor do I. But still, we have them. Okay, a quick story. It's a funny story. So at 5th grade Honor Shabbat 3 weeks ago, I talked about reptiles being auctioned off thanks to the Road Show and Bruce Hoffman, who supplies us with corn snakes and horned frogs or toads or whatever they're called. I don't know. Weird critters. As well as hedgehogs, too, we're having this year, I think. So a little girl said, well, what about an oxalotl? And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Can you speak English? And so, and then I learned Minecraft. It's a character, but it's also some kind of salamander with wings or something like that. And what do you know? Bruce Hoffman, unsolicited, emails me next week and says, I got a shipment of oxalotls. I'm going to give you some of those, too. I think that family they actually sent in $200 of prize tickets they want to get that lottery. So it's always possible. It's all about helping our youth group scholarship funds. So as you think of your questions, something special that's happening, I'm going to invite up a few people who are here tonight with us. Carol and Howard Ellman, and Gary and Stacy Schumann, and Dita and Heather Randall, and Joanne and Bill Campbell. If you'll come forward, please, and Leslie Moskowitz to join us, because these are some of the folks who are coming with me to Israel. Here, I'll put my mask on so I can come close. To Israel in 4 weeks from tomorrow, right? You guys can face everyone. So there are role models. You all should be signed up for this trip, but we don't have enough room for you. But I actually do have 4 more spots on our bus if you want to jump on. So if you're interested, you can talk to me, and it's still possible. And tickets are still good prices. So, what an awesome group. We're going to Israel in 4 weeks. And it's special because we've planned this trip for 3 years. We've had 6 trips to Israel canceled in between this trip and other trips that have been supposed to go, and Leslie's and my trips. And this is our first Shir Shalom trip finally to Israel since the summer of 2019. And so we're so excited that you guys are leading us on this trip as well and a part of this. And it's a really new kind of trip we're doing for adults. Very excited. And at Temple Shir Shalom, we like to send you off with something special to go on your journey. So I know, we're funny like a $2 bill. Everyone gets a $2 bill except for the ones who don't. So, and the ones who don't, I owe you. No, I have a single for it. So, honey, Where'd you get? Why don't you go? Okay, here we go. There we go, and there we go. Okay, so the reason why is when you go to Israel, you're supposed to be a shaliach tzedakah, a messenger of tzedakah, a messenger of helping out. And so the idea here is that you should be protected on your journey. People think it's really scary to go to Israel. It's not at all, right? But we like to give you an extra strength that you're doing something really important in going to Israel, but also helping Israel. So it's a tradition that you give someone when you hear they're going to Israel a $1 bill. Shir Shalom, we're funny. We give everyone a $2 bill. I forgot to go to the bank today. So Leslie found a few for at home, and so I'm getting the rest of you $2 bills. And the idea is that you deliver this to tzedakah in Israel, and you're protected on your journey there. You're protected on your journey back. So others, I'm sure, will bump into you and give you some tzedakah as well. So this is for you to hold on to. And we're going to give it to someone, whether it's someone begging in the streets or a tzedakah that you see that's important, whatever. But here's the other Shir Shalom tradition. Fold that in half. Right? It's like a magic trick. Watch. Fold it in half again. Fold it in half again. I know, and fold it in half one more time. So we folded it how many times? 4 times. Excellent. So the idea is that you all should be protected as you journey in the 4 corners of the earth. And the idea is, as Jews, we have a mission, and our mission is to return to Israel from the 4 corners of the earth. And they have that privilege. And it's a unique time in our lives. For some of us, never have been there before. Some of us, our first time. Some of us going back for our 10th time, our 15th time. Every time we go, we see something new, and it's always special. And so we give a blessing, Baruch atah b'voecha, Baruch atah b'tzeitecha. May you be blessed in your going out. May you be blessed in your coming home in this journey of learning, of joy, of experience, of lots of beautiful times that we'll share together. And we all say, Amen. So, looking forward to it. And that's that. Okay. So, you should know that part of our goal at Temple Shir Shalom in the next 10 years, 10 years? Oh, Brian's already outside. 10 years, that 500 of us of our congregation will go to Israel. So, our next trip after that, Rabbi Daniel is taking a birthright trip to Israel in May. This summer, Rabbi Daniel and me will be sharing in the teen mission to Israel. We have almost 20 kids now who will be going with us, teens, to Israel, which is great. I think 75 in our community and 20 are Shir Shalom kids. Next winter in December, we have a family trip that's going to Israel, which is really special. And next spring in March 12th to 21st, we have the Motor City mission to Israel. We're going to fill an airplane, and Shir Shalom will have a bus on that one too. So again, all great opportunities. One of your rabbis or both your rabbis will be part of these, and so you can ask me about that as well. And so before we go to our babka, who's here for the babka? Who's here for the burgers? Who's here for the beer? Both hands go up for the beer. Welcome to Shir Shalom. That's how you know you're in the right place. It's okay. Well, and we have non-alcoholic beer and beverages as well, so that's always good too. That's why any Tish questions? Yes, Robert Kornfeld. Do you want those extra 2 spots on the bus? You and Pam want to come? Okay. Besides Zelensky of Ukraine and the Prime Minister of Israel, any other Jewish leaders of countries? I don't know off the top of my head. I don't think so. No. Not the head, right? Right? And some have said that Zelensky is sort of, denied his Judaism too. So, but he is a Jew. So, nonetheless, I don't know, Rob. It's a good question. I don't think there are any. Michael, do you know? Are you asking a question or do you have an answer? Oh, so yeah. I'll look into that and see. But I don't believe there are. So, yes. And it's nice to see you, Dr. Seidman. That's not why you came, but it's okay. You're here tonight. You're here for other things. So Michael was taught that you're not supposed to touch Torah without a prayer book or your talit or even your clothing, but not with your hand. So the tradition is we build a fence around the law, right? We build a fence around the Torah and we protect it in different ways. So different communities would do that in different ways. The words of the Torah are the holiness of the Torah, and so that you would never touch with anything but the yad, right? And never with your hand, because we may smear it and things like that. And so, by extension, the outside of the Torah too, but it's covered in, a parochet, a covering to protect it. And so, we hold the Torah with our arms, our hands. So there's nothing wrong with that. But some communities would want to put a barrier around that and say, no, you should never touch it with any flesh, and for that reason as well. And some would say because, women would be touching it as well. And so to let women be included in it, we're all going to use our prayer book to touch it rather than our hand. And if you want to know why women can't touch it, that's a different conversation we don't have to have right now. And that obviously not an issue for us, right, in our community, but that would be some of the reasons why customs would develop around that. So, yes, Anita. Oh my God, 2 weeks in a row. It's so nice. I know. Well, I just mean it was nice that we were together in Florida and we're together here for services. So I don't know specifics. I know that the rabbi in Odessa actually hired 20 security guards from Israel to protect the synagogue. Here's the challenge. So Ukraine is a place rife with anti-Semitism in its history. Unfortunately, in the death camps in the Holocaust that were in the Ukraine, they were all staffed by Ukrainians. The Nazis didn't have to do very much. The Ukrainians were happy to join on board. And the history of anti-Semitism is horrible in Ukraine. It doesn't mean all Ukrainians are bad, just like Germany has done a lot of good for Israel, for the Jewish people. And so when I was in Munich, I remember in 1988, 89, my grandfather, blessed memory, was so angry that I enjoyed myself in Munich, that I spent time in Munich. And of course, I went out to Dachau, which was 20 miles outside of Munich, and had that, difficult experience. But I had a wonderful time in Munich, meeting peers, talking, and they were so interested in meeting someone Jewish and learning and very open-minded individuals, right? And when I was in Israel a few years after that studying, there was a program of young German graduate students who were there to specifically learn about Judaism so they can come back and teach Germans about, Israel and about Judaism, right? So just because the Holocaust came out of Germany doesn't mean that Germans are bad people, right? There are a lot of good Germans. So that's one challenge there we wrestle with. So same thing with Ukraine. However, in Germany, it's illegal to have a swastika out. It's illegal to have certain hand movements and things like that. That's not the case in Ukraine. In Ukraine, there's still streets like Khmelnytsky Street, which celebrates an anti-Semite who killed 40,000 Jews, right? If we hear Baba Yar, which 100,000 were murdered at during the Holocaust, right, by Ukrainians, they, at times, the grassroots movements, celebrate Baba Yar. So there's this great challenge in that, too. And Putin's playing to that by saying neo-Nazis, we're eradicating Ukraine of Nazis, right? And there's a little bit of fake news in that as well. So Israel always sends and tries to a group called Israel Aid to help those in need. And will send them into war, into combat, instead of hospitals and provisions. It did it in Haiti after the earthquake there, in Turkey after the earthquake, all around the globe, right? And amazing, sometimes the country won't admit that Israel's there, but they'll still welcome Israel in. And it's a government agency. So I wouldn't be surprised. I was reading more about the Jewish community in the synagogues in Haiti today, in Ukraine today, and some of the things that's going on with them. And that's their concern, because when there's unrest, even when it's coming from outside, suddenly this virulent anti-Semitism, that head comes up and starts blaming Jews for the unrest that's attacking them and stuff. So it's really difficult. Well, We're to go. We can talk more, but we have a special oneg to enjoy for some of us that are comfortable doing that, and that's a nice opportunity for us. And so again, thanks to Melanie for coordinating, to Brian for helping organize that as well. Oh, you're smiling? Okay. To Leslie for helping with that too, of course, and big applause here for us. And so, please rise for our closing prayers as we join together with Cantor and the blessing over the wine.
Baruch atah Adonai,
Eloheinu
Eloheinu melech haolam,
Borei pori hagafen.
Amen. L'chaim.
L'chaim.
Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May God bless us. May God protect us.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
May God's light shine upon us and shine through us.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yisim lecha shalom.
May God always be a part of who we are, giving us all of our hopes, giving us all of our strength, most of all blessing us with shalom, with peace in our heart, in our mind, our ability to bring more peace into our world. Amen.
V'yisim lecha shalom.
Good Shabbos, everyone.
Good Shabbos.